Ready, set, go.
Welcome to the Do It Live Autonomy podcast. I'm your host, Erin, and with me today is the one and only Nick Hayes, and we'll be sharing some highlights with you from this past week. So we've got an agenda to show you here.
The agenda, I actually don't have that ready. I'm really sorry. This is my second fail of the night.
Well, we'll be looking at the well of autonomisms, and then we'll move on to student projects, mastermind updates, and we'll see where we are at that point. If we have time, we'll go on to the latest from Jay Dyer, and then a couple slides from lecture 5. So there
And here is the
are
beautiful agenda. Just a few seconds too late. Sorry about that, Erin, and everybody.
No problem. So we've got the first 3 up there. After the mastermind updates, again, we'll see where we're at. And then we've got the latest from Jay Dyer and some slides from Richard Grove from last night's lecture. So we'll see how that goes. But first, we want to open up with the well of autonomisms. And I wanted to kick it off with my favorite autonomism so far. So Nick Hayes actually said this a couple weeks ago, back in one of the Q&As. So you can see this is a quote from John Taylor Gatto. Genius is as common as dirt, and it just hasn't left me. I love this quote, and it's just stuck with me. And as I'm out and about and at work and things, I just see, you know, before I had that scarcity mindset where that genius was very uncommon. And now I really see the genius in all the people that are around me. So without further ado, let's open up. Carly Vernon has been collecting the well of autonomisms, and we're going to show you what she's got here. You can see right there at the top, we've got 3 ingredients for freedom. And then she's got several of the abbreviations: anything but quitting, CPF, commit, prepare, focus, and then PDR, I think on the next page, persistence despite resistance, and all kinds of wonderful expressions: work bomb, no fear, no excuses, no masters, no slaves, all of these things. So Carly, why don't you tell us your favorite autonomism and how you've been using these in your own life and research?
Sure. Well, my favorite autonomism, actually, first, what I wanted to ask the group or throw it out there, I chose the word well because of it has many different meanings. It's, you know, it's a deep source of water. It means to will, and it's a state of good mental, emotional, and physical health. So that's why I chose the well. It's also a place where people gather. If anybody has any other suggestions or recommendations for a name, bring it, and we'll work that in. My favorite autonomism so far, I don't know, it's hard to pick, right? But the one that came to me today is freedom is the absence of slavery. And absence, if you look at the root word absence, the definition is a state of something not being present. So the Latin prefix of ab means away from or off, and then the suffix for absence is esse, which is, or s, it means to be. So it means to be away from something. So when I contemplate this statement, it elicits for me one of my favorite words, and it's been present in my life a lot the last year or 2 or 3, is the word absolve, which means to set free or release. Again, the prefix ab means away from or off of, and so there is Latin for to loosen or untie or release, like a solvent would, so absolve. So self-absolution is the key to freedom, and freedom is the absence of slavery. So to release the mind from mental bindings and toxic thought, to loosen the emotions and release the dam of anguish and suffering, to untwist the body from trauma and unravel the scars, which will then liberate the breath, allowing us to breathe in the spirit, to be inspired. Thus, we become the temple that is worthy of the embodiment of the Immaculate Soul. And so you asked how this works into my research is I have what I call the glossary, and glossa is from the Greek root, glossary is from the Greek root glossa, which is tongue, which brought up one of the things in my program that I call linguistic ballistics, which is how are you throwing your words? Linguistics is the science of language, and ballistics is the art of throwing large missiles, or the science of the motion of projectiles. So how are you throwing your words about? And of all the sentient beings, humans have the power of the mind. And in alchemy, this is the fire element. The fire element is the ignition for change. It's for manifesting transformation. And that's what we as humans are able to accomplish. So when we speak of the elemental bodies of the human, the fire element is the mind, the neurological system, the electricity. Therefore, controlling the fire with pure noble fuel, noble gas, is imperative for the highest flame that creates transformation. And this, in the spiritual world, is called the violet flame, in alchemy as well. So linguistic ballistics is mental hygiene. It's controlling the flame, but feeding it only noble gas. This is a tiny taste of my 12-week program and the accompanying workbooks that I've joined Autonomy to complete and to activate. And sharing this little tidbit is how I'm hoping that I can give clarity to what I'm doing and receive the assistance that I came here to get. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. Does anyone else have a favorite autonomism that they'd like to talk about a little bit?
And while people are having to think about that, I will share the list back up on the screen. Maybe it'll jog your memory, but I'll go here actually. And I actually love every single one of these. And one of the signs that you are making progress and kind of really taking on board the lessons we're learning here is when you start using these outside of autonomy and blowing people's minds. But this is certainly one that I think I'd never heard of before. Tech angry. This is tangry, and this is what we regularly experience as we're downloading new apps and dealing with new software solutions and upgrading our hardware and rigging up new devices and overcoming these hurdles of technology. And we have to remember that not to get tech angry, not to get tangry, and stay calm, and to trigger that complexity and to fail forward, and to accept that it takes a few hurdles and smashing into hurdles and sort of getting tripped up by them to make progress and to learn our way forward with these kind of things. That's one I would like to highlight. Don't be tangry.
I've been getting tangry lately these days working on my blog. Has anyone else ever used the WordPress, the Gutenberg blocks? Oh my God, it's like so frustrating to build a blog or a website. And so I actually went and I was getting so frustrated because it takes forever to like do anything. So I went and did a search and I'm like, I hate Gutenberg. And I looked it up and so many people hate this, whatever you want to call it, system they use in the blocks and how you build it. So I'm like, oh, at least I'm not alone. But yeah, I just wanted to say I've been tangry lately and I have to stop.
It's definitely easy to get tangry. I'm not a tech enthusiast myself, so I have the tangry moments frequently. Anyone else? Any thoughts? Any
I
comments?
get angry every day, you guys. I mean, my computer is always doing crazy crap, so it drives me nuts.
Yeah, and I had pretty much a fit over my computer last week, refusing to render the Q&A. So I definitely feel that.
Now, if
It's
anyone,
like we sometimes, sorry, I was just going to say, it's like we sometimes can work faster than the app or whatever program we're using. So I think that's a source of like tanger, maybe. Well, for me, it is sometimes, you know.
I like that, the new part of speech, tangry and
I
tanger,
like that it's called a well.
How about tanguish?
tanguish.
Ah, good one.
I had a bright
Love
idea.
that.
I had a bright idea to because I had over 21,000 emails in Gmail. And so I thought, I know what I'll do. I'll download Thunderbird. I'll move everything over to Thunderbird, and then I can just wipe Gmail. Well, no, but neither system alerted me that Gmail was blocked. Oh, it disabled POP3. So I set it for POP3 in Thunderbird, but it didn't accept it and didn't warn me. So I know some of you know exactly what happened. So everything's in Thunderbird. I go to Gmail and delete everything, and it's IMAP, so it's all gone. But I am very de-stressed about it. There's not a thing I can do. And now I don't have to worry about filing emails because they're all gone. I fixed it now.
You've absolved yourself.
Yes,
There you go.
very freeing.
Which brings me to, there is a link in that document. I'm going to try to find the best place to put it. Maybe the file folder in our chat is a good place for it to go. There is a link in the document, and I'll also put a link in the chat where you can click and add, because there's, I haven't even hardly tapped the well. So we need more. We know there's a ton that come in with every lecture. Screenshot it and add it to the well. And when I, each time I'll try to get in there weekly and update it. And we'll just keep adding until we have a huge well, deep well.
We have a tab too that shows the actual online submission form. So once you click on that, it'll take you to the form right here. Very good. And I know Michael Nimitz had mentioned that some of these could be used for marketing purposes as well, lead magnets or t-shirt ideas. And so there's a whole host of things that we could use these for. Any last thoughts on the autonomisms?
I'd like to invite, yeah, if you will. I was about to invite you, Mike. No, I was about to invite you to speak.
Well, I am so impressed by, we actually, I think it was me and Nick that had this conversation, or maybe, yeah, I think it was, we were talking about this in a little one-on-one we had earlier, and then we went back and forth, and then you're like a couple days later, this is like a whole new thing, man. I'm just so impressed and so thankful to be in this group of people because it is, Carly, what you said, I didn't catch all of it because I came in right as we were talking there, but our language is our magic, and the words that we say, we've got to be really impeccable with our words, and I think this is just a wonderful thing. So thank you so much for doing what you're doing, and I certainly will add to this list as I see fit, and I encourage everybody to look for these words being, coming out of other people's mouths, and if it's some kind of video or something that's being said that we can clip and cut out and utilize to to turn into a meme or something else, do so, because I think it's something fun that we can do together that will improve everybody's life.
It's noble gas.
All right, very good. Well, let's go on. We have Judy on with us. Judy, your last name, is it Verensing? Am I saying that correctly?
That would be the German pronunciation, but we don't say it that way here in the US. We
Okay,
say
how do you say it? Wernsing.
Wernsing. Yeah,
Wernsing.
just like it looks.
Okay, so Judy Wernsing is going to read one of her poems for us. So she's one of our autonomous poets, and I really love the title of this one. It actually sounds like an autonomism a little bit to me, but I will let her introduce the poem and read it to us.
Thank you, Erin. It's called Tsunami Warning. I wrote this in 1994, October 1994, when I was visiting a friend I lived in Oregon, and I was visiting a friend at the coast. So, and I haven't read this out loud before in person, so this is like new for me. Tsunami warning. An earthquake hit Japan last night, and today we have a tsunami warning. The police have called. We can't go down to the beach to watch, but my body at a visceral level is drawn by the pull of that huge wave to go stand on the promontory and wait. Its own tides are rising, threatening to storm. its own tsunami about to explode onto the coast of its stifled life. It's got a crazy death wish to stand on the beach and be drowned in the 100-foot wall of water. It wants the change so much that it would die to create new life. So the tsunami within builds, ready to destroy my old life and transform its rocky scree into smooth, unmarked sand.
Bravo.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. That is such a lovely, lovely poem. Now, can you tell us a little bit why this poem that you've written so long ago, why it reminds you of autonomy today?
Well, it just seemed very apropos of, my stifled life and all of that. It's been that way ever since then, like before then and since, nothing's really changed in terms of what I want out of life and whatnot. So, and that's why I'm here. So it just felt very apropos of where I am in my life. And I thought maybe others might think so too.
Right. I know I do. I've definitely been stuck in a stuck position for quite some time now. So definitely, has a ring for me. Anyone else? Any thoughts about the poem?
I thought the imagery was wonderful. I can picture every single thing you said. It was great.
Thank you, Chris.
I'd
Yeah.
like to jump in there. And one of the things that I really like about this poem is this image of a tsunami, and that it conjures up to me. I think one of the reasons it links so well to autonomy is that it trigger so much overwhelm, and we learn how to deal with that and how to handle it. And a tsunami is nothing if not overwhelming, and it's often used in that sense. And this is one of the things that we trigger in this course. We might come in a job or feeling stuck or feeling like we can't make any progress or make any headway towards the things we actually want to do in life. And then we come into autonomy and we start to study and learn and practice. And then at some point you suddenly realize that there are so many more possibilities and so many more options that you had just been hidden from you. But once you fix your lenses and fix your perspective and you start to see those things, then it triggers the overwhelm, because suddenly you're thinking, well, I've got so many great people I want to work with. I got so many amazing skills I want to learn. I got so many things that I want to do. And so I think it's just a really perfect metaphor to go along with that sense. That's a key part of autonomy for me, at least, is kind of transitioning from the what do I do? I don't know how to get out of this, to what do I do? I've got so many good things to pick from. So yeah,
Wow.
great poem. And thank you for writing it and sharing it, Judy.
Thank you, Nick. Thanks guys for having me on. I gotta go. I gotta get back to work. So but this was fun.
Thank you so much for coming. We appreciate it so much.
Well, thank you. Have a good one.
You too.
Bye.
Bye. All right, well, let's move on. We want to introduce the student projects, and we've had several student projects that have appeared in Autonomy this week. And I want to kind of start this section off with a short clip that explains why are we even, or one of the reasons why we're even doing some of these projects to begin with. So I think we'll start here with a short video from Dave Chappelle. Right, so we know the system is rigged. The foot of tyranny wants to stamp us out. So we've begun all these different kinds of projects. So let's start off with how our fellow autonomizers are getting out of the system, escaping the system. I wanted to start with Chris Duffy and her Health Moment project. We're going to take a look at, she's got a video that she started, a video project, and we're going to look at about the first minute and 15 seconds of what she put up this earlier this week.
Chris, would you like to give us a little cue up and set this up for us, what we're about to watch?
Sure. Well, I did this. This was an idea I had a long time ago, decades ago, for radio. I was going to do a health minute and, just put it out there on the airwaves for my midwifery and just give people something they could do right now, to improve their health. And since eventually I want to put together a course called Health Stewardship, I thought I should start with something smaller and call them health moments because they're way longer than a minute. But this is the first one.
Will be when it.
Hi, this is Chris with a health moment. I think it's a good idea to make a bed, no matter how small your yard, and grow something. We don't know if tomorrow cabbage will be $25 a head. And if you're growing cabbage, you're making money. My beds are simple. I didn't want to spend a lot of money, didn't have a lot of money, so I made them with cinder blocks. At the time, they were like $1.75 a block, but this gave me 6 to 8 inches of raised bed. So you can see the bugs have enjoyed some of my leaves here, but there are natural biodegradable sprays you can put on things, but there's still an awful lot of really nice ones. And these can still be eaten. The bugs leave a lot for us.
I really loved this clip, and I'm just seeing so much, just how much of the scarcity mindset that I've had in my life, because this clip, I thought, wow, you know, unless there's a plague of locusts or something, there is enough for everybody, even us and the bugs. So I just had that thought as I was listening to that. But Chris, would you like to explain a little bit more about where you hope the project will go and things like that?
Well, I have quite a few emails over the years that I could tap into to, you know, promote the videos. And I have a channel, although I'm still trying to figure out YouTube. So I'll have these on my channel, and I might even use some of my Google ads for promoting them. I don't know. But I'm hoping to get a following of some kind, and then that will feed into my midwifery if they're pregnant, and also into this course that I'm going to present. As soon as I finish writing the book, then I will focus on the course. I have my outline. It's a course I've done before. I've just never done anything. I've always winged it, you know, just whatever people that were with me, because it was always live. That's what we would, whatever they wanted to talk about, we would talk about. So that's where I'm going with the little health moments, is to promote that and my midwifery. I think it'll be good.
Great, thank you. Does anyone have any thoughts or questions for Chris?
I think the intro music sounded good.
Oh, thanks. That was free. It came with Clipchamp or whatever I used. I won't use it again. It was very hard to use.
How long have you been gardening, Chris, and growing your own food and eating it?
Well, I started the first beds probably 5 years ago, and I bought supposedly organic soil from someplace, and absolutely nothing would grow. Not even the weeds, nothing grew. It's like, oh my gosh, what did I get? But through amending it with, well, I just kept planting things in it and letting the weeds grow until it replenished the soil. And my roommate's awesome with compost, and so he's been amending it too. And so now it's got all sorts of good worms and bacteria in it. So I've been I would say this is the first year that I probably got my money's worth out of it. So sometimes it takes a while. So before you go buying soil, ask everybody that already gardens where they got theirs.
Yeah, I was hearing things about people's soil being tainted and it wasn't growing things like big shipments, like people that get shipments by like truckloads and stuff. I
Yeah,
forgot what was in it, but your cinder block beds look awesome. I want to try that actually.
it's
You
still the
know.
cheapest way to make a bed.
Yeah, I actually, sorry, go ahead.
And you can make it bigger. So all you got to do is move the blocks
Stack
on
it.
the end and make it bigger.
Yeah, I was actually lucky that my first raised bed that I made cost like $8 because I had gotten scrap wood from like the side of the street, and then all I did was buy like brackets and stuff to connect the corners, and it was like really awesome. But cinder blocks are good because you can just, it's so easy to take down too. You know?
Yeah, and they're pretty indestructible.
Yeah,
Wood's gonna rot, at least if you
that's
don't
true.
want
Yeah,
treated wood, you want wood that will rot for
yeah,
garden. So
exactly.
my only concern was if if it would affect the pH of the soil, but it doesn't seem to have.
And just before we move on, Chris, I did have another question. So I watched this whole clip and it's actually worth watching in its entirety. But one thing I thought would be nice to have you explain is something you talk about in that clip, which is a G-bomb.
Ah,
Could you explain that for us?
okay, sure. Well, I do say after I say G-bombs, I say greens, beans, onions, mushrooms, berries, seeds, and nuts. So those things, if you think about them, they all taste very different, and that's because they have different phytochemicals. And don't think about vitamins and minerals, and that's just fake science. Because when God designed the food we're supposed to eat, he packaged it all the way he thought we needed it. So when you eat something, that immediately triggers your DNA to make hormones, enzymes, cells, whatever it needs to fix whatever's wrong and make you healthy. You just have to stop poisoning yourself with the American diet.
I love that. Thank you, Nick, for reminding me. I love the G-bombs too, when I heard that in the clip. That was really awesome.
Well,
Now,
that's actually from Dr. Furman. I can't claim credit for that.
oh, okay. Very good. Dr. Furman. I'll have to remember that.
Mhm.
So Chris is at the earlier stages of her project, and we want to turn now and look at a project that's amazing and completed. And this is from Rebel Maiden, also known as Jade, or maybe I should say that the other way around, Jade, also known as Rebel Maiden. And so we've got her website up here. I am so impressed by these 8 modules that she has on the website. And so I was hoping, Jade, that you could tell us about your offer, your course, and how things are going with it.
Well, first I want to say thank you so much. That means a lot. I really appreciate it. So yeah, I just launched it about a week and a half ago. So it's fairly new out in the sphere, but the inspiration behind it was I had started a few Freedom Cell groups back in late 2020, and I was trying to get people, you know, on the same page to learn skills so we can have like more formidable and like resilient groups so we can actually build something. And through that experience, I learned that people didn't really have these skills, like in certain areas. You know, I come from the North, the Northeast, so we have a more like convenience-based lifestyle. So we're not really taught these things. We don't grow up in that way of life. So that was like a big issue. I was like, all right, so what can be done? Because we're all like, we can have like a social group and that's great, have a social community and stuff, but we can't really like do stuff where we trade and have skills to sustain ourselves unless we learn them. So I decided to take it on myself. Like I scoured like websites and books and, you know, with the underlying notion that nobody was coming to save me. I had to save myself. So I have to figure it out, like to be as self-reliant as possible. So in my research, it was very overwhelming. It was like, who do I follow? Like, what do I watch? Who's the best person to learn from? And quickly, because, you know, like I don't have a lot of time. So after all that, I started doing the stuff that I was learning, and like my mission with the course is to bring the skills that I've learned to the people, because like time is of the essence and we really need to like get on this. And the thing about my course too, it's like, don't let your perceived shortcomings be your downfall, because everyone I watched had like a husband or a partner who was like tilling like the land and like while they were inside homesteading and canning and doing all that sorts of stuff, they had farm animals and they had like 20 plus acres. And I'm like, I rent a house over here and I have like not a big piece of land and I'm by myself. So I got to figure out some way to make this work because, you know, so that's where like the concept came from. It's like, I wasn't going to let that stop me from doing what I needed to do because somebody's got to do it. And also because I didn't see anybody like me doing what I was doing. I couldn't really relate to anybody. Like I said, I come from New Jersey. I don't come from the country. And I don't have these things that all these like homesteader websites and channels and podcasters have. So I wanted to come out with something relatable to people like me to like, hey, I know it's a lot of stuff to learn. It's you know, it's going to take some time, but you can do it. Like, I don't want people to think they need X and Y to get started because you really don't. So that was the concept behind the course. And I felt like I kind of did it a little backwards. So I created the course and the website, and now I'm working on a marketing plan, but I felt like an urge to get it done because I know like people need these skills and I really want to help people. So we can like imagine if we were all self-reliant in these ways and we all had these skills, then we can really, you know, make some kind of resilient community where we can all trade and like have some kind of parallel society, because like right now it's like the skills are lacking, so it's kind of hard. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. So can you tell me from beginning to end, how long did it take you to get this up, get the 8 modules finished and everything?
I started writing at the end of April, and it took me like, let's say like 6 months to do like the writing and sorting out like how I was going to lay it out. And I'm using like the Teachable platform. So I had everything set up in another platform, and I was ready. Like I had like the free program, and I was like getting ready to make my purchase of the next step up so I can get certain benefits. And then overnight they raised their price like $500. And I was like, oh my God. So this course almost didn't even happen because I was so annoyed. It's like, oh my God, I can't believe that. And like, now what do I do? So I found Teachable, which, you know, I mean, there's fees involved you have to pay, but at least it's out there now, you know, and I can get this stuff to the people. So it took about like, I want to say like, is that 6 months? April, May.
Yeah, right up.
Once writing, and then like once I got everything formatted properly in the platform, the actual website took me like 3 days to make. It was pretty easy using like the stuff in the platform for the website. So it was just like a matter of choosing the colors and the layout and the format and like where to put certain information. So the website, building it was, the website part was actually like the easiest thing, but like I'm a writer by nature. So like the writing and stuff, like it gets me like super excited to do that kind of thing. So that was fun.
Great. Can you tell me if you have a favorite module?
I'm really into the prepping module because I don't know, it just like, I love all that stuff, like home security options, like self-defense options, like using decoys and like things like that. Like, it's just super interesting to me, you know, how we can protect ourselves in ways that, you know, you might not even think of. And just like I'm a very organized person. So like prepping is kind of like just like second nature in a way. Cause like I have an inventory and I know where stuff is, and, you know, swapping stuff out, and I'm like a little like crazy with that. I like go by dates and like, I don't know, it's just like, that's exciting to me, like teaching people how to prep and just, I don't know. Yeah, I would say that.
Anyone
And-
else have any questions or thoughts for Jade?
As a fellow woman from New Jersey, I was very excited by the offering of this course, Jade. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're so welcome.
This is phenomenal, and I definitely will be signing up and sharing this with another family member so that they can sign up too. And definitely, I don't think it was backwards. I admire that you just got it done, and now, you know, Autonomy or the other resources can help you market it, because we know about it, and so there's actually something there behind it. So thank you for the offer. It's a missed niche. You know, I haven't seen anybody do anything like this either. And it doesn't necessarily have to be women. It could be, you know, it's just self-sufficiency.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's not like, it's not there's no feminism aspect to it or anything. It's just like, I'm a solo, I used to be BC before COVID. I used to be what was called the solo female traveler. So I took that concept because I was like, well, you know, I don't want women to feel like they can't do this stuff if they don't have a man to do the heavy lifting. Cause like, hey, I mow my lawn, like I lift heavy stuff, and like, yeah, it sucks. It would be nice to have a partner, but if you don't find yourself in that situation, you don't let that stop you. So yes, but single men, married women, whatever, if you want to learn these skills, then my course will, I don't believe it would disappoint you at all. So, you know, but thank you so much. And Jersey in the house, good to hear that. That's nice. I actually miss New Jersey sometimes, believe it or not.
But
It's great.
I'll just,
When I first moved to the South, felt like I was living in another country at times. It's funny.
it is. So I'll leave it on this. I'm from Jersey. You're from Jersey. What exit you live off of?
Yeah, exit 9.
There you go. Thank you, Jay. This is excellent. And I'm looking forward to seeing how it grows.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'll see you there. Thank you.
Anyone else have a question, comment, thought for Jay?
I'm just going to chime in that I'm blown away. Like, not only do you have a course, but you have like the copy driven, you know, just it's completely dialed in. The whole website looks amazing.
Thank you so much.
So like to have something that you weren't really sure about, or like, oh, I'm just going to try this. And that looks amazingly professional. And good job. That's really awesome. And way to find a niche and a need that needs to be met. And
thank you.
Now we got to get the word out.
Thank you. Yes, please. Thank you. I can use help with the promo. Thank you so much. That'd be awesome. Yeah, that's what I was trying to figure out next, like the whole like promotional strategy and stuff. So, and I'm working on an affiliate program at the moment, which is going to take a little bit of time, but you know, just trying to figure out like different avenues, like how I can get this to the people who need it, you know, because it is really important. I would love to see like more people have these skills because it gives us more opportunity and it gives us a better chance of surviving like in whatever kind of parallel society that we can build. You know, if it's just a bunch of people that don't have skills, well, we're not going to live very long. You know what I mean? Like we need to have these skills, and like that's what I want to bring. So thank you.
Yeah, I saw the link and I jumped right on it, and wow, as like Jill said, I was so impressed, and it really fits the bill for me. So
thank you. Awesome.
I will be
Good.
sharing the link, and as soon as I can, I'll be signing up. So
awesome. I can't wait to see you there. And also I want to mention here too, so I've been thinking how I have it like laid out now. Initially it sounded good to have to bring people into the group at the end so they can focus on learning the material. But I'm going to change that and have people join the community group sooner. So it might be initially when they sign up or after the second module. I have to give that some thought. But I think, you know, because I don't want people waiting like say 8 weeks and then they come into the group. I just don't. I mean, if it was me and I put myself in that situation, I'd want to be like connecting and talking to people going through it at the same time. So I'm going to be changing that so you can get into the community sooner.
So can I ask a question?
Mm-hmm.
Would you ever break the modules up and sell them as mini courses, little starter?
Yes, that's something that I'm working on doing as well, because I figured, you know, some people might not need certain modules, and or they just want to learn like one thing because they know other things. So that's something that I am working on. Thank you.
Thanks.
It's just like I only have 24 hours in the day. It's like there's so much, you know what I mean? But it's coming. I know you guys all know what I'm talking about too. I mean, like you pull those autonomy all-nighters. I know you know what I mean. So.
Right, the 168 hours. We all have to.
Right.
Right. All right, we have 2 more student projects that we wanted to showcase, and the next 2 are a little bit more directly addressing the powers that shouldn't be. And I wanted to introduce this section with a short clip from Gary Webb. So we have, he is unfortunately mysteriously deceased, but we have a clip from him.
I am an investigative journalist. I've been an investigative journalist for about 25 years for daily newspapers. And in 1996, I wrote a series of stories entitled Dark Alliance, which was about CIA involvement in drug trafficking. What my story showed was that the cocaine that was being sold in those neighborhoods was coming from mainly one source, and this one source was being used to finance a guerrilla war in Central America. The general idea of the CIA dealing drugs was something that the American mainstream press had never written about before, and that's why it prompted outrage.
Great, thank you. Now, the next project is Chris Jansen. He's not able to be with us today, but I just wanted to showcase what he's doing with the Ending Evil podcast. And to start this off, I actually have a photo from the area where I live. I'm in upstate New York, and I wanted to see if anyone else has a photo or has similar things in their area. So this is right over my apartment complex where I live. And Chris's latest podcast is talking about the strategic aerosol emissions. I think it's more popularly known as chemtrails. So over Rochester, where I live, I see this type of thing all the time. And Chris actually has a website with his research, with a lot of his photos from San Jose, California. Does anyone else have this type of experience where they see the strategic aerosol emissions?
All the time. Sometimes the sky is just covered. It's really disgusting. And it seems like they amped up lately too.
Same.
Right. So here's Chris's research, and you can see he's got a bunch of photos there, all kinds of interesting topics. He said some of the links were old, but, you know, U.S. Air Force using HARP, the Chemtrail Watch Daily, MIT warns about geoengineering. So you can take a look at this if you get a chance. But let's go ahead and listen to a couple clips from Chris's podcast. I know he's been advertising this recently in the forum. He's trying to get it, I think, back up, or he had a new host and things coming on. But let's see what he's doing.
As humans are being enslaved, and that there is a massive amount of control, and this authority has led to a chaotic situation where even our very air we breathe is likely being poisoned in multiple ways. But we know it is being poisoned even without, even if you don't believe in the fact that geoengineering is going on already, which it likely, very, very likely is, from my point of view, has been going on for quite some time. But, you know, I can see some people still making the argument that, oh, it's not really going on worldwide. That's not what we're seeing above us in the skies. So for people that are still kind of making that argument, or don't really want to accept or believe that that could be going on, like a massive spraying program, well, I'm going to try to keep showing some more evidence to show you that I think it's more likely that it is. And one thing that I've seen here in California, where I live, is a drought that's been going on, I would say, for about 10 years solid. And every year in the last few years, we've seen worse fire situations.
All right, thank you. So he goes on and he gives evidence. He uses some things from Dane Wigington's site, geoengineeringwatch.org. So I really recommend the documentary on this website. I don't know if Nick's able to get it up or not. We'll see. All right, there you go. So if you go to, oh, okay, go ahead.
10 years I worked at Raytheon, the exposure to various programs was limited to what they wanted you to work on. So even though I still had the top secret clearance and certain programs I got exposed to, that was not one of them. That was compartmentalized, as it should be. And unless you had a direct impact or you were personally involved in it, you would not have received that particular clearance. It goes back to around October of 17. I'm residing near an Air Force base here in Tucson, Arizona, Davis-Monthan Air Force Base. Aircraft exiting, doing their flight training, etc. And having lived around Air Force my whole life, my father even being a pilot, it became obvious to me that the contrails that were coming out of some of the aircraft in the local area were not normal looking.
Okay, thank you so much. Anyone have any thoughts or about these types of ideas that Chris Jansen is bringing up? Anything anyone would like to share?
Hi everybody, this is Oscar.
Hi.
I wanted to share that Curtis Stone shared a way of being able to combat this directly. And it was a very simple, it was surprisingly simple way of being able to do it is by boiling vinegar, just regular white vinegar. And, you know, you could take whatever amount and boil it down half and halfway. And he found that if you just use one of those hot plates and put a pot and fill it with vinegar, it clears it all up. It clears up the sky above you. And it's really remarkable. He's got video evidence of this, and he's done this a number of times. But I think about a month or two ago, I think it was like late September, where he showed how he does it. And so there's one direct way of being able to combat that, especially in regards to your specific area. You could just boil some vinegar, boil it down halfway, and just keep it out there, and you'll see the skies start to clear up. I haven't tried this myself yet, but I do know of a couple other people that have tried it that I've shared this with, and they say it definitely works. I
That's
don't know why.
Is that something that they were doing indoors or outdoors?
It's outdoors. It has to be done outdoors.
Like a hot plate outdoors. Wow, that's really fascinating. Anyone else have any solutions or thoughts about strategic aerosol emissions?
Well, I have an interesting idea. So you could look at movies filmed from like, you know, I would probably guess from like, you know, 50s or 60s, or if not before, and, you know, look at the sky in these movies and go, see how this isn't here? You never see this pattern in a single movie, and then you see it all the time in modern movies. You know, and I don't know if this is true, but one thing that I heard that I don't know if it's true is they took like, it was like Jaws or something that they then took and re-edited it in chem lines into the movie, where if you could find an OG tape and then the edited version and go, why did two different versions exist?
Great. Wow, it's so interesting. Anyone else? Last thoughts on Chris Jansen's work?
I have
good. Yeah, Itai, go ahead.
Hey, I don't have any solutions. I've been seeing this for over a decade very clearly all over the world, wherever I travel. Some places more, some places less, but I haven't found a place where the sky is just blue and there's no X's and dispersal of stuff. And one thing that's an interesting kind of connection might be to explore is I've been looking at a totally different supposedly subject, which is the so-called vaccine and what's in it. And I've been going on a trail of this nanotechnology that people are finding, nanobots. There's a lot of evidence for that. If anybody's interested, you can reach out. But I was watching a lecture by a guy called Dr. James Giordano, and he was mentioning a lot of research done about aerosolizing both mRNA and aerosolizing nanotechnology, and how this can be weaponized and how it can be used against enemies from without or enemies from within. And so there's a lot of avenues that suggest that there might be some connection, and this is being explored or maybe used. And yeah, little tangent, but it's just something I wanted to share.
No, thank you so much. Yeah, I'm definitely very interested in that. I think there was someone else who wanted to chime in.
Yeah, that was me.
Oh, go ahead, Jade.
I just had a couple of things. It was funny. I was saying the other day to someone, I don't know if you've ever heard of this, but sometimes people will be sarcastic and saying, when they mean like, duh, oh, is the sky blue? And I'm like, well, you can't really say that anymore because it's not, right? It's always white. But yeah, at this point, I just don't see how people like, or do people not look up? I mean, how can you ignore this? It's so blatantly obvious, like nowadays, that it just like blows my mind. But I guess that's why they made smartphones so everyone's face could be turned down instead of up looking at the sky, you know? And the last thing I wanted to say was that this guy with the geoengineering watch, there was a couple episodes back, I don't remember which one, but he was saying, I don't know if any of you tested your snow the past couple years and tried to light it on fire because it like turns black and stuff lately and it has a weird smell. But he had sent some out for an analysis and it came back containing graphene. And I do have an article somewhere that they were using graphene for like something but to create rain or something like that. So I don't doubt that there is graphene and smart dust and all that other shit, you know, in the chemtrails. So I just try to like get in, get out, and I don't stay outside when I see them. Kind of sucks, but like, you know, how do we stop that? You know, that's my thing. If all this stuff ended tomorrow, like, how does that stop, you know?
Right, we have to boil a lot of vinegar, I guess. Someone else?
Truckload.
Yeah,
Erin,
I was going to talk just to say off the back of your points, Jade. How do we stop that? I think it's trying to convince more and more people to look at the evidence. This is not a subject that I particularly know a lot about, but as I'm scrolling through this website, I'm seeing all the links and the articles. There's books, there's documentaries. I have to remind myself that without considering this evidence, I really have to withhold judgment and be open to any possibility. And I think it's trying to encourage people that that's the best attitude to have, and not to take anything on belief or faith, but look into it and do some research, be open-minded, and you know, if there's nothing there, you've got nothing to lose because you won't be convinced and you'll walk away more informed and more convinced of your position on the matter if you think there's nothing going on. However, if there is something going on, being open-minded, facing the evidence and the information that is there, considering it with an open mind, I think that's very critical and very key. Yeah, that's what I wanted to add.
Thank you, Nick. And I wanted to, I've watched the Dimming. It's the documentary kind of in the middle of the front page of the website here, Geoengineering Watch. It's a really good there it is, The Dimming. It's a really good documentary to kind of get you started, like if you don't know much about the strategic aerosol emissions and things. And this guy, Dane Wigington, he's got all kinds of resources. He'll send them out to you for free, things like that. So any last thoughts on this one before we move on to Lucas?
I'll just throw something out. You know, I grew up in the Midwest, just outside of Chicago. So, you know, I used to love airplanes and watch, you know, looking into the sky and stuff like that. And so when I was young, I never saw, you know, that cross hatching type stuff. And, you know, there was all kinds of air traffic going on, you know, but in those days, the trails behind the airplane would disappear almost immediately. You know, it would be very unique to see a long trail. And you know, it was something that I, like when I was a kid, I would be looking for those so I could see the airplanes, you know, and maybe like take binoculars or something to catch, you know, what kind of airplane it was or whatever. And then living in Pensacola, and you know, my job kind of put me in a position where I was in the aviation industry, and so I got to do a lot of traveling, and you know, primarily around the United States and Canada, but then I did go into South America and so forth, and around the world. But you know, where I was living in Pensacola, Florida, there was just so many days that it was like a checkerboard in the sky, you know, and to me that just was unacceptable. I don't necessarily know, and you know, kind of to add on to what Nick said, I don't know exactly what, you know, these things mean, but I don't like them. I don't think they're normal. You know, if it's the government that's doing it, I think it should stop. But it was certainly one of the things that led me to leave the United States and head to where I am. And you know, I don't see those kind of things in the sky where I'm at, and it's one of the things that I like about this place, is that that's not the case here. But again, we do have to remember that fear is one of the biggest tools that they have. And if they create fear in us, and it's something that reminds us and triggers us, and kind of that subconscious triggering that goes on when it comes to fear, that's it immobilizes us. And so I would suggest that, yeah, if it's something that concerns you, definitely look into it, and but don't let fear immobilize you.
And just quickly on that topic, I'm sharing here from our well of autonomisms. Fear stems from a void in learning. So if you're scared about what's going on, if you're nervous or anxious, learn about it. Learn about it in as much detail as you can. And it's an incredibly empowering, the most empowering thing you can do, and the best, most positive step you can take. And I think it was worth revisiting our well of autonomisms there to pull that one up and share it.
Definitely. Thank you. Now let's look at our last one. Lucas Drew posted his practice presentation in the forum earlier this week, and this presentation was awesome. I wasn't able to be there in person, but it is a fabulous offer that he's presenting to de-Google your phones and your devices. So his website is called Freedom Tech Solutions, and he is a definite bona fide genius as far as I'm concerned. So let's take a look. He's got his website here. He knows all about how to get all the spyware and things off of your phone, or maybe not spyware, but all the spying, the actual spying that's going on, where they can keep all your data and stuff like that. So let's listen to a couple clips from his presentation. He starts off with some implications of the spying and what that actually means for people. And then he presents his solution to that, which is really fabulous. Okay, here we go.
Health information, our worldview, our hobbies, all of our secrets, our behavior patterns and habits, exactly what you do on your phone or your device, every website we visit, when we turn off our phone or leave our phones at home, and how you're actually feeling throughout the day. Not many people realize that, but that's actually the case. They can pretty accurately figure out how you're feeling depending on what you're doing. Your exact geological location, that's pretty obvious, but not many people realize. And I've got there a little around about 10 meters. I found out yesterday, just touching up on all the different points, that it's actually 6 feet, so, which is even more scary. And all of this is used to profile us into kind of like categories. So they're categorizing people.
So Lucas gives us all those implications. That one about it was 10 meters and now it's 6 feet, that they can identify where you're located. But Lucas has a really incredible solution as part of his offer. And a little later in the presentation, we'll see it here.
An overview of our devices, briefly. It's exactly like a modern Android phone. So if you've ever used an Android, you'll find this extremely easy to use.
So these are the phones that...
It's literally exactly the same. It's got replacements for the Google services in the background, so it does the same thing. You will notice slight differences, like how you actually fetch an app from the Play Store, because we're not using the Play Store, we're using a third-party spoofing app to, download things without signing in. Another thing to mention is notifications. So apps which are dependent on Google, which is usually like, the big mainstream ones, notifications will not be instantaneous. It will take, like 10 minutes to come through. But apps such as, Telegram and stuff, they work fine.
And you can see there the cost. He had a 400 Australian dollars. I think that's about 300 US is what he said. So pretty reasonable, I think, for a de-Googled phone. So I just thought that was an amazing offer, an amazing presentation. I was so impressed. So anyone have any thoughts or comments about the spying and the solution here that Lucas presents?
I'll go very quickly while people are mulling that over, and just compliment Lucas on what a fantastic website. One of the things I really loved as I was checking it out, as I scroll down, check out this graphic here. It rotates as I scroll. And I know that has nothing to do with the product and the topic at hand. I just think it's a really neat little thing to have on the website. But it's beautifully laid out. It's very eye-catching, easy to read, easy to follow. I'm not sure who this gentleman is, but these clips are very informative. There's one of these, I think, in his presentation, in his full presentation of this gentleman. And then just, yeah, really, really nice layout, contact details, frequently asked questions, and then the shop. So I guess we'll have a little look at the shop.
I think that guy was called Rob Brax, Nick.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Do you know? Are you familiar with his work and his content?
Yeah, I'm aware of him. I think I'm subscribed to his channel, but yeah, I haven't followed or watched any of his stuff. But yeah, he's got some good stuff. He's all about privacy. He's got his own company, like Luke, and he also does de-Googled phones. So the one's based in the US, and obviously Luke's based in Australia. So not really competition for each other, but yeah, same kind of goals: freedom oriented, privacy. But yeah, Rob Brax, yeah, he's got good stuff, content on his YouTube channel as well. If anyone is interested.
One
Yeah,
thought
so
I had is,
obviously-
I think, doesn't James Corbett have a whole series or a resource page on de-Googling? And I remember it's been at least a year that I listened to a podcast of his about a de-Googled phone, and then he included some links. And I mean, there at the time, I remember him saying there just wasn't very much available. So it seems like that has changed, and that might be a good place for Lucas to, get his product out there, his word out there. This big podcast who are trying to help people find solutions.
That's a great idea. And James Corbett, I love James Corbett. He's so awesome. And I'm sure he would be very interested in this type of thing and helping to promote it. So that's a wonderful suggestion.
There's
Any
another offer on the website that I thought is worth highlighting. Is so it's a de-Google BYO device. So you may already have a phone in a drawer, or you maybe using a phone that you can de-Google. And Lucas offers this here. I guess it's for the cost of shipping both ways. So if you have a device that you're familiar with, or you already invested a lot of money in, you can get that shipped out to him. He can de-Google it and send it back to you. So I think that's another nice way to take a step into privacy.
Can I jump in a little bit?
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, I actually used the resources from James Corbett, and there is this Lineage OS operating system. So it's like the Android, but without the Google services on it. And they have there, if you go on their site, it's I think lineageos.org or something like that. But it is on Corbett's links there. You can actually see what phones are supported and what you can do with them. But from what I read on the site, I actually bought a second-hand device, a OnePlus 6, I think, and I did-Googled it. It was pretty straightforward, no issues. But I think you can only do it straightforward with OnePlus devices and with Motorola devices. On other devices, you actually need to request a key from the vendor to unlock the phone. So you can install this and everything works fine. I don't have any difference from the original, let's say, operating system. Nothing is changed. There is only that the how is it called, Google Play, the Play Store, you don't have it anymore, but there are alternatives, and you can actually find software that they took down from Play Store.
Thank you for that information. And thank you, Nick, for showing James Corbett Solutions Watch on de-Googling the phone. Any last thought or comment on that before we move on to our next topic?
I'll throw out something there. There's a documentary called Surveillance Capitalism, and I think the lady Shoshana Zuboff, I think is the kind of the person that they highlight. But they talk about kind of the the research and studies and kind of the effort that's being made behind the scenes, and really kind of a new economy that's being based on your surveillance. And to a large degree, a lot of these events that are going on and crises that are happening are being monitored through these devices, so that they know if they're going to be successful, if they're not. The words that are useful to them versus the words that aren't useful to them. That's certainly something to keep in mind. I know here in Mexico, you can get cell phones and cell plans for so cheap, it blows your mind. And I knew there was something wrong. I was actually in South Africa quite a few years ago, but I kind of got lost out in the middle of nowhere in South Africa, and I stopped at this little store on this this little bitty one lane road out in the middle of nowhere, and there was some like tribal people walking down the road, and then I heard like a telephone ring, and they had a cell phone out in the middle of nowhere with like it really what they're trying to do with the cell phone is I mean it's a very useful device, but it's also a tool that is being is putting information in the hands of other people that, as far as I know, we don't have access to. And that's certainly something that for me, I don't have a cell phone because of that. And I think everybody has their choices to make on what they're going to do, but it's certainly something to consider for sure. And I know we've got a couple people in autonomy that are up to speed on this kind of stuff. So I think it's awesome. And one other thing I should say is, for the old schoolers, this is blowing me away. You guys are really knocking it out of the park here, man. I feel like I'm behind. You guys are making offers, putting up websites. I mean, I feel like, what have I been doing here? I'm season 2. I should have like 3 of these up. What the hell? So great job, everybody.
Thank you so much, Michael. Yeah, these offers are definitely incredible. What we had just in the past week in the forum. So, and what you said about the reach of the cell phone, reaching into the farthest corners of the world, to places you would never think. It really is incredible to think about it, and what the powers that shouldn't be, what their desire is with that. It's it's sad. It can be a fearful thing, but there are solutions. But let's go ahead. Let's move on to our mastermind groups. We want to update. We've just gotten these started, and I wanted to start with a clip that was actually from my group. It actually came from my hot seat session, and we were talking about how to keep going forward, problems with motivation and not quitting, avoiding the overwhelm. And so John White is in my group, and this clip is actually him giving a comment about that. And then we have a few mastermind leaders. Okay, go ahead. We'll go ahead with this clip.
But 1B, what is a good method of trying to develop or build new skills? Baby steps is what works for me. Try to get something that says the minimum viable step that you could take and do that. Don't try to boil the ocean and do everything all at once.
I really loved that phrase. Maybe it's another autonomism that we could add to the well. Don't try to boil the ocean. I just felt so much overwhelmed. Like, how can I even begin to even learn? I was trying to learn video editing and I had a pretty mediocre first attempt. So I was pretty overwhelmed by that. So we have Jill on. Of course, we've got Nick on. I believe Jerry's on, maybe some other mastermind leaders. So if anyone has an update or something they'd like to share, either the leaders or someone in a mastermind group, please go ahead and step in.
Well, I'll kick this one off. Yeah, so I'm leading a mastermind group, but really that's a misnomer because I'm just as much a student as any of the people who joined in season 8. And what I have to say, we've met, we had an initial meet and greet to get to know each other and introduce ourselves. And then we've had 2 meetings. And I said this at the end of our last meeting, which was your hot seat, Erin. And I just said, it's so inspirational to witness how forthcoming people are with their patience and time and generosity and suggestions and expertise and knowledge. And it is one of the most impactful things to witness when you're in that mastermind, whether you're in the hot seat or whether you're out of the hot seat on that week. But the power of a group of people coming together to focus their minds on helping you overcome a challenge, and it could be anything from I don't know how to get out of bed in the morning because I'm depressed. It could be I really need to floss and I don't know how to build this into my daily routine. Or it could be I've got a multi-million-pound business and I'm scared it's going under and I need to rescue it. It's all life and it's all relevant and it's all human problems, and you bring them to the group and you be I wrote a phrase down when I talked to Jason the other day, which is it was be authentic and vulnerable, and open, and people are so forthcoming with their kindness and their support, and it's just a powerful, inspirational thing to be part of. And even though as the quote unquote leader, I get to sort of sit back and just watch it unfold, and it's way better than anything on Netflix, and I'm just humbled and extremely grateful to be part of the group. And with that, I'll pass it over to anyone else who'd like to talk about their experiences with the masterminds.
I'll jump in really quick because I have to check out pretty soon. But first of all, Erin, what a brilliant idea to reach out to people and invite them to come on, do it live beforehand. That was really good planning on your part. So I appreciated getting a message from you. And as far as masterminds go, of course, everybody that's part of it hopefully is experiencing it, but I just want to talk to people who weren't able to sign up, because my heart always goes out to people like who feel left out or like, darn it, I didn't know about that. And so don't worry, like autonomy is enough, this isn't essential. This is just a new thing that we're trying out this season. And it happens to be going really well and it's really cool, but you're not like missing out on the autonomy experience if you're not in a mastermind. So that's number one. Number two is, there's no like hard and fast rules. So I was glad that Richard yesterday was pointing out like there's an opportunity to step in and develop one of your own if you want. It just look a little bit different than the other ones. As leaders, we did spend quite a bit of time preparing and learning. There is a little bit of a learning curve, but one thing that I just have to keep reminding myself is that it's not perfection that we're striving for. We all just want to keep getting better and getting better faster. So this is just a tool for that. So I my mastermind is such a unique group of individuals, and it's just really cool how there's a few people in there that are really can speak the same language, who are speaking technical language. And I'm so thankful for that, because I feel like they can get valuable feedback, at least from each other. And then the rest of us, you know, that are learning by listening. And so this was just an experiment this season. I think it's going pretty well. I am enjoying being part of it, and hopefully this just continues to grow. So again, if you feel like you're not part of it now, like lifetime membership, yay. So anyhow, yeah, if you guys have questions about it, just let me know. And Nick, I love your new computer, like your features, like you're so clear and you can switch angles. Pretty awesome.
Thank you, Jill. Anyone else, Jerry, or maybe someone else?
I'll chime in for a second. Maybe Jerry will jump in here in a little bit. But you know, I'm not in the leaders, but I just everything about this program I think is really wonderful. And you know, the fact that one of the beautiful things about you know, autonomy and certainly about what they're trying to do here is communicate better and collaborate more with each other. And these masterminds are like that first little step, you know, just beyond like the breakout rooms and the Q&A, where we get a little bit of chance to connect with each other and get to know each other. This is just one more step in that direction, where we get a little bit more time with, you know, your fellow students and kind of get to learn about who they are and what they bring to the table. And then this opportunity to help each other. You know, we've only been going for a few weeks here, and the fact that I think we're doing it together, I think we're all coming to the same realization almost at the same time, that wow, this is great. This is going to be wonderful, and I can see it already in a lot of the things that are going on here. You know, we're recognizing the value that each of us brings to the table, and when we're doing it in these little groups, and then we see all these, you know, this huge group of people that we have, man, we've got a powerful organization and community that we're a part of, and I just think it's a wonderful thing. So well done, everybody.
Thank you, Michael. Anyone else? Last thoughts?
I saw Stephanie on mute before. I don't know if she wants to talk before me. Anywho, I am Jerry. I'm still an autonomy leader. I am sick, so if I cough, forgive me. So yeah, our mastermind is going pretty good. We're 7 people, going strong. Erin's actually in my mastermind, and she can chime in if she wants. However, the goal is just to really take it easy, like start slow. So put one foot in front of the other and just start making our way towards our goals. So we have 12 weeks to do that. So yeah, it's going really well. I started a mastermind last season with Nick Hayes, and we didn't know what we were doing except from what was in the outline. And then me and Nick were selected as leaders. So then we went into a new mastermind with several other leaders. So we kind of like did it all over again. And now we're doing it all over again. So I'm still learning. Right now, I'm just trying to get better at facilitating. And yeah, it's a great experience. So I will just leave you guys with, if I can create a mastermind on my own with Nick, you guys can too. So thank you for bringing me on.
Thank you. Anyone else? I think I'm actually in Nick, so we have a few Erins in autonomy. I think it's Erin Reddy might be with you, Jerry.
Yeah, I'm the one that's in Jerry's.
Okay, great, great. All right. Well, I think we're going to move on. We have just a couple things left we can go through quickly. We've got the latest from Jay Dyer, and he has been steadily lecturing and beta testing his Philosophy 101 course. And we're going to show a slide from the latest lecture he did on metaphysics. So this was really interesting. So I hope that if you haven't had a chance to check out Jay Dyer's philosophy, that this might pique your interest to do so.
Yes, and just quickly before we share the slide, I wanted to share this clip from Jay's course that I snapped from lecture 3 or 4. And I think it gives you a really good insight into Jay's teaching style. So it's a very short clip, but here we go. There's no sound. And it's just a clip that I really wanted to share because I think it's really fun. And it captures Jay's style of teaching, his humor, his ability to make philosophy extremely fun and entertaining. And with that, I will get the slide up for us to have a look at and talk about.
I agree that Jay, he makes it more accessible. When I saw there was a philosophy course, I kind of went, you know, I'll never get interested in that. But then when I listened to the first one, he hooked me. So one thing I really like, you can see on this particular slide on the third one down, we've got monism, which I had no idea what that was until I started listening in to this course. And Jay is so good at taking these ancient things, monism being like everything is fire, everything is water, everything is air, and relating it to our modern day time. He was talking about how some of those very famous, well-known atheists, that they're actually a type of monist who are saying everything is matter. And that was so intriguing to me. Does anyone else want to jump in who's maybe been to Jay Dyer's lectures with any thoughts?
On the subject of him linking things from the past to today, he even told us about one ancient Greek philosopher and thinker who came up with the multiverse. So if you recently saw Doctor Strange in the multiverse of madness, you think the idea of a multiverse is a new cool thing. It's not. It's super ancient and super old, and I think it was debunked a long time ago. But yeah,
I want to say that might have been Anaximander or something. Don't quote me on that. Someone else? I heard someone else.
Well, I just wanted to jump in real quick and say, don't hold back on your thoughts and opinions. Even if you comment in the forum, all that is really helpful information, and that real world feedback of like how this has been useful to you, what you thought beforehand, and how this is like maybe changed your perception. Like Erin, the way you just described it was perfect. Like you didn't think it was for you. And then, you were hooked. All of that feedback is really good. And so whether you comment on the forum or you send it to Joshua or send it to me, DM me, I'm really interested to hear your feedback and your experiences with the course. So.
Okay, good to know. Yeah, anyone with feedback, please keep that in mind to post it on the forum or send a message to Jill or Joshua. Anyone else? Anything? Anyone want to jump in?
I'll just add this little piece because I've been religiously going to this since it was announced, and I think one of the things that Jay said this week that I thought was just like a bombshell was, he was pointing out some of the contradictions in a lot of the science that's out there today, and it's because these people are in these kind of echo chambers, and they aren't classically educated, and so they get into these little boxes, and they don't see, like you were saying, this idea that the metaverse is something new when it's actually something really old. And this idea that the world is made out of atoms, and this is something that our new technology, we just discovered this in the last 50 years, when the reality is no, there were people that were saying this long time ago, long time ago. And the fact that you know, in a lot of ways, philosophy has been killed and put to bed in many people's educational model because they turned it into something so dry and useless that it's unappealing to most people. But the reality is that this is kind of how we round out our education in our perception of what the world is and how we relate it to other people. So it's an incredibly important course, and like you said, Jay does a great job of breathing new life into it.
Excellent. Thank you. Anyone else? Last thoughts on Jay Dyer?
Off the back of what you were just saying, like I think one of the most powerful things about Jay as well is that he teaches you that whether or not you're aware of it, you have a philosophy and a worldview, and you act as though you do, but maybe you are just not conscious of it, and you haven't interrogated it, and you haven't dug into it to actually know what are your presuppositions about the nature of reality and these questions about what exists and what is real and what is not real. You do have ideas on this, but perhaps you just never shone a light on them. And he makes this point, and I think it's extremely powerful, because once you realize that I do operate in a certain way based on a certain set of assumptions and presuppositions, and you can go into them and you can test them. And the way you test them is you talk about them to other people, and then they argue back or they just debate back. And this is one thing that makes Jay a powerful teacher, is he's very open to debate, and he'll talk to anyone, and he'll give them time and space on his long multi-hour Q&A sessions, where the floor is open to anyone who wants to talk to him. And I think that continually going into that battleground of ideas has just honed his skills now to a very high level. And yeah, he's a great teacher, and I think we're very privileged to be able to learn from him.
Absolutely. And coming up next week, he's bringing on a guest speaker who's going to talk about Renaissance art and patterns in that type of art. And I think it's going to be really fascinating. I can't wait. So before we move on to a couple slides from Richard Grove and last night's lecture, anyone last call for Jay Dyer? All right, well, let's go. We've got this first slide. There are so many, but there was one I really liked about escaping the rat race. And I loved the image that came into my mind, or I guess, I'm sorry, we've got a decision fatigue, either one.
Rat race.
That's our final meme.
Oh,
so this is what we're hoping to escape.
In that case, we're going to have to talk about decision fatigue, because I don't have the other one here.
Okay, no problem. So decision fatigue. I really like this. I thought this fit in well for me with the overwhelm, and how you don't have to make 10,000 decisions at once, but give yourself time, give yourself space to rest. And I really like this one. Anyone have any thoughts about this particular slide, or maybe another thought that came up for you during the lecture last night?
I could really appreciate that decision fatigue. I've caught myself at the end of a day, or even in the middle of a day, when I've been the one making all the decisions, and I just can't do it again. Like I literally can't make a decision. And I'll turn to somebody and ask, well, what do you think? And oftentimes they come back, well, I don't know, it's up to you. And just like my brain goes, it just stops. So this really resonated with me. I liked it. That's definitely going in the well.
Decision fatigue. Yeah, definitely a good one for the well.
I don't know if it was on this week's lecture or a previous season, but there was a part where I think it might have been last season, where Richard said, when you're suffering from decision fatigue, what it actually is freedom fatigue, because you have so much freedom that you have so many choices and so many decisions to make that it's freedom fatigue. So I thought that was another good autonomism that we might want to scoop up in the well to draw from later as needed.
Well, it's a good pivot too, right?
Absolutely. All right, thank you. Anyone else? Last thoughts on this slide or the lecture last night?
And just while people are thinking of whether or not to chime in, I have found the other slide on rat race, so we do have that coming up next.
Okay, great.
This slide reminds me of what we were talking about earlier in the podcast with when we heard Judy's excellent poem, and it conjured up that image to me of overwhelm, because this is something you're going to face when you start to realize just how much opportunity there is everywhere around you. And a lot of people come into the course unaware of that or unable to see it. And then one of the things that commonly happens through the curriculum as the 12 weeks unfold is that you start to see the places where you can add value. And it could be, family, in your relationship, it could be in the place where you currently work, but you could just be out doing your shopping or visiting other businesses, and you start to notice things and you start to think, I could offer some advice here. I could help them do this different way. I could really get involved and offer my services here. And so that's another angle to this decision fatigue or freedom fatigue, is you start to be the opportunities start to pile up very quickly, and you suddenly have to find yourself going, okay, I'm gonna have to start saying no to things here. Because if you say yeah to everything, you get burnt out, and then it's a kind of fatigue. And it's something that I've been having to think about recently. Is I'm actually reducing the number of hours I have available on my Calendly, so that I can refocus those hours on reading and video editing, so that that time can feed into the content that I'm intending on creating in the future. And so I've had to say no to all the wonderful integration exercises and interviews and time spent with the students, fellow students here and graduates, which is very sad. I have to turn that dial down at the minute, but it's because I have these goals and I need to turn the dials up on these other activities so that I can make sure those goals happen. So I think that's another part of it as well, is you start to have to really prioritize and make those decisions. What is the highest and best use of my time? And in a way, it's bittersweet, because there's so many great things you want to do and be involved in, and so many great people you want to talk to and help out. But sadly, you can't do it all. So you have to be selective and start making some decisions. And so that's another idea that I thought of on this slide.
Yes, thank you. I found myself also trying to just choose what's vital and most important for the moment for me on this one.
With
right.
that, should we go on to the next one?
Yeah, sure. We can go on to the rat race. We can get it up here.
Learn your way out of the rat race.
I really like the phrase, the way over the wall, or the only way out is over the boundary wall. That phrase really stuck out to me on this particular slide. And that's our goal, is we all want to get out of the maze, the trap that's been laid. Anyone have any ideas or thoughts, comments?
Certainly, the rat race conjures images to me of rats scurrying over each other, climbing on top of each other, pulling each other back and down and trying to get ahead. And it's a very highly competitive, cutthroat kind of dog-eat-dog image that pops into my mind. And I think what we're trying to create here, or at least what many of us experience when we join the community and we join Autonomy, is more of a collaborative, everybody goes together rather than clawing and fighting to get ahead. It's kind of like, we all join hands and we all proceed together. The famous story about the children who were told to race to the sweets, and the first one who got there got to keep all the sweets, so they all held hands and walked there together and arrived at the same time so they could all share in eating the sweets together. So that's I think the rat race is really, it's one way to play the game, but it's not the only way.
It reminded me also of the Rats of Nim, the movie from a long time ago, and how it was a very thinly disguised, the National Institutes of Mental Health was NIM, and just how, like you were saying, they want to think of us as, oh, they can control our behavior just like we're all rats or whatever, but we're finding our way out of all those learned behaviors and learned helplessness and all of those things. Any final thoughts on the lecture last night? All right, well, with that, I think we're gonna go ahead. We've got one more final meme that's related to that. If showing the rat race in meme form here. So
If
go
you
to
didn't catch it
college.
already when I shared it earlier by accident.
Right, so this is all the rats scrambling into the subway, go to college, find a job, pay off debts, climb a ladder, 2 weeks vacation, work 45 years, the end. So I know none of us wants that to be our end. Any final thought, comment? Well, with that, I think we're gonna go
I
ahead
think
and,
there was somebody talking there, but your voice
okay.
was very quiet. Leonard.
Yes, hi.
Hello.
I just want to say thank you all for putting this on.
Thank you for coming.
Go on, Leonard. Try again.
No problem. Can you hear me now?
Still a little low for me.
How about now?
Very low.
Better?
I can hear you. I'm leaning closer, even though I'm wearing headphones, I'm leaning closer to my laptop to hear you.
I'm like leaning on top of my microphone. This reminded me of that book, Who Moved My Cheese? And just, it's this motivational book about these rats who look for their cheese in the maze and then find their cheese and then it disappears and then a group of rats go and look for more cheese and then another group of little people, decide to wait around for more cheese, and it's supposed to be this euphemism for the job. And this kind of made me think of actually us gnawing our way out of that maze. So we're not looking for more cheese in the maze, we're just looking for the abundance outside of it.
Right, very good. Yeah, thank you. What was the name of the book you said?
Who Moved My Cheese?
Who Moved My Cheese? Okay, excellent title. Very good. All right, well.
Could you maybe repeat what was said there? I have the
Okay,
volume
so
pretty bad
Leonard
and I
was
couldn't
saying
hear it.
that he had read this book called Who Moved My Cheese, and it was talking about how the rats were searching for the cheese, but that they were he was talking about we weren't looking for something inside the maze anymore, but we're actually looking outside. I don't know, did I say that well enough, Leonard?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, all right, good.
Yeah, cheese is like the euphemism for your salary job and looking for a better job if you're not getting what you're wanting at your current one.
So Who Moved My Cheese, a book by Dr. Spencer Johnson. The quicker you let go of old cheese, the sooner you find new cheese. So I think it's a metaphor for kind of chasing. It might also, it sounds to me as well a little bit like a metaphor for the golden handcuff, the paycheck mentality, the sort of I need to keep doing what I'm doing because I got to get to the end of the month to get that paycheck. And that's kind of the rat run and the rat race and being in the maze. Whereas once you learn skills and learn to recognize opportunity and to add value, then you can say, okay, I'm going to get off this treadmill and I'm going to go over here and work with these people who aren't on treadmills and offer services and strike deals and make an offer. And that's a way to make cheese or make a living or make money and transact that isn't based on a kind of scarcity, running around in circles with the goalpost moving and trying to just be stuck in that monthly cycle. You can actually create more freedom for yourself and more abundance by stepping outside of that system and that game.
All right. Thank you very much. Well, I want to thank everyone for coming. Thank you to our special guests, Chris Duffy and Jade Rebel Maiden, showcasing their projects that we really appreciate everyone coming on and chipping in. Also, many, many thanks to my awesome co-host, Nick Hayes. Thank you for such a fabulous job. And please subscribe to the podcast. And if you want to get autonomy, you can go to getautonomy.info and tell them that Erin sent you. And With that, next week we have Carly Vernon doing the podcast with LD. That should be really exciting. I'm looking forward to that. And thank you again for joining us today on the Do It Live.
Awesome. Thank you, Erin. Great job.
Ready, set, go.
Yay!
Yay!
That was fantastic. How do you feel, Erin?
Oh, I feel very relieved now. I was extremely nervous, so I feel a
Good.
great sense of relief that it's over.
Good. Was all the nervousness necessary?
Probably not, but I definitely had the butterflies for sure.
All right. Well, you did a wonderful job of planning out the show, getting all your fellow classmates to showcase their value. It's fantastic. No one's ever done that before, but I think we're going to assign it for next year. We're going to make that a thing. We're going to copy what you did today, because I think it should be done probably around this week, around week 5. People are comfortable enough, because you don't want to just get in the course and hear other people pitch their stuff. But now you guys have bonded, and you guys actually are curious and care about each other as human beings. Oh my goodness, this is fantastic. There's 7 billion people in the world, but we're relating to these people right in front of us with these wonderful things that they're doing and showcasing and offers to the world. And I think this is a great example, and I want to see it happen again. And so thank you.
Thank you.
Congrats, guys. Well done. Erin, the ultimate compliment that I can pay you is that you're a natural.
Oh, thank
And
you.
Nick,
Thank
and
you.
Nick, your insights are always well structured and very articulate, and I love hearing what you have to say, mate. So both of you, well done. Great stuff. Loved it.
Yes, and I
Thanks,
second
man.
that about Nick. Yeah, very articulate. I love the way that you comment on things.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, but I agree with Van. You're a natural, Erin. Your nervousness and butterflies didn't show through at all. And I think on the replay, you'll be pretty happy with how calm, cool, and collected you were, and great performance. And yeah, kudos for the planning. You know, you sent the plan through, like, I don't know if I should tell you, but Erin like sent one plan through at the draft, and then an updated one landed. And then you also pre-recorded like a run through of introduction and practicing that you shared with me. So excellent preparation, and I think the preparation really paid off, because yeah, I had a great time, and I feel like it was really smooth. And look how many people showed up, and how wonderful it was to invite people to come on and talk about the things they're doing. And yeah, I think what Richard said was a good point as well. Like around this time, people are comfortable, settled in, and it's a really lovely time to just, hey, look at what I'm doing, you know, what do you think, and to spotlight it. And this is such a nice, such a great format and place to shine that spotlight on all the talented, amazing people that we have in the course.
I did send Nick a note. I said, I hope I wasn't making him crazy by sending him all these messages. So I, I did have a lot of preparation.
Well, that insight from Nick about the different reiterations, that explains the naturalness. Now that makes complete sense. So just shows you planning is key. So yeah, it really showed. Well done.
Erin and Nick, great job. Great job, and a great way to encapsulate all the extra added value that we have here in Autonomy. Really showcases our community and the type of people that we're surrounded by, and the quality of their thoughts and actions. It really is exciting and inspiring. And I just wanted to thank you guys for kicking it up even another notch than last week. So way to go, guys. Great job.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, I'll chime in and say, well done. And certainly the way that you peppered in you know, a lot of our new students, and you know, I mean, I just feel like, man, we are on a trajectory that's just, I mean, this is really what we were thinking, or you know, what I'm sure what Richard was thinking when he came up with this idea. I mean, it really is becoming a real thing now, where we get to see how we help each other and how this comes together, and how it makes so much sense. It's just a wonderful thing. And yeah, Erin, you know, like there was some parts there where, you know, you got thrown a curveball and you didn't even flinch. You just kept going, and it looked wonderful. So well done.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was just doing those curveballs on purpose to see how you handle them.
Yeah, I wanted to say
That's not true. They were genuine mistakes.
you guys did so well, Erin and Nick. You guys just made it look so easy. I was like, wow, they're just very smooth. The flow of it was really, you know, nice. And I could tell that there was probably so much planning that was involved with coordinating all the different people, asking them to come, and then deciding, you know, what you wanted to talk about. And then your guys's flow, your banter back and forth was just very like smooth, and the way you know, asked people's input, and people would chime in and give their input on what they thought about each subject and each person's project. And then I really loved how you like put in different video clips, like the Dave Chappelle and the other people in the memes. It just kind of gave another added layer of, you know, kind of excitement or something else, and how those clips related to what was coming next or the next person's project. I thought that was really nice, and just the whole flow, and even the outro, and very well done, very well done. So good job, you guys.
Thank you. I'm glad you liked the clips. I was trying to think of it like writing an essay, you know, how you make transitions and introduce things and so forth. So thank you so much. I appreciate that.
I've got to put it on the record that Erin picked all the clips and all the timestamps and all the images. I just showed up, loaded them into my browser, and clicked share screen. So kudos.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was seamless. But Nick, don't you know, give yourself the credit that you did add. I mean, you were you added content when there were pregnant pauses. I mean, you just jumped right in, and it just flowed. So the two of you together, it was seamless, and it was really lovely. And once again, I'm worried about how mine's gonna go.
Yeah, and I really liked, Nick, how you on the fly, you brought up James Corbett's site and the cheese book, Leonard's book that he mentioned, a couple other things that you just got up on the fly. So that was awesome. Because I when I did my practice, like really trying to like press the buttons, I was like, oh, this is laborious. So it's hard. Of course, it's hard when you're on your own. I'm so glad I had Nick to do it for me. So thank you very much. I just thought you did a great job.
Oh, it was awesome. Yeah, thank you. It definitely helps to have a decent laptop because my old laptop never would have been able to do that. But I was just kind of doing search terms and opening browsers, and I have the two screens, you know, and so moving things around was very effortless. And yeah, that helps a lot.
I'll move it for you if you want. I don't know what the hell it's there for. Oh, right.
And oops, what happened there?
I think that someone was talking to Van or something. I don't know.
Okay. But yeah, just that, yeah, it's a lot of fun. And the magic of the thing that we're using to all be here together and talk to each other on at the minute, the internet, and we can do like pull up clip. And that reminds me, actually, Van, if you're listening, thank you. He sent us a clip it's a short clip from Oliver Stone talking about because he made this film on Edward Snowden, didn't he? I didn't want to, I thought that might be too much of a curveball to just be like, hey, let's do this clip by Oliver Stone. But that was waiting in the wings in case we needed a bit of filler or needed to pivot to something else as well. So thanks for that, Van.
Nice.
Erin, do you feel like you would like to host Do It Live again sometime? Is it something you want more of? Are you like, okay, I've done that now, I don't need to do it again? Tick that
Definitely,
box.
definitely before we did the podcast, I was just like, I cannot wait till this is over. I don't think I ever want to do this again. I was so nervous, but now I really enjoyed it. And I love doing the prep and prepping all the clips and figuring out how I'm going to piece everything together. So I really like that part. So I would like to do it again at some point, you know, if there's a slot open. I know we got to fit everybody in, but yeah, absolutely.
Ooh, that's good. Yeah.
And
And one of the-
what about you?
Go ahead. Go ahead, Van.
Sorry, Michael.
Go.
No, I was just sorry, Michael. I was just going to ask Nick, how do you feel today? Because you've had a lot of exercise hosting Zoom calls, and is this any different to that, or do you feel more confident after today?
No, man, I feel good. I feel with each. I mean, this will be this is the fourth time I've done a Do It Live now, and so you get more comfortable with the format and what you have to do. And then, you know, when so many people show up, thanks to your Erin, thanks to your wonderful preparation, then it's kind of like, oh, you know, it's on, people are here. Because if it was just me and you, you know, then it's less pressure, but it's also not quite as exciting. So I'm kind of getting more comfortable speaking to bigger groups of people, and I think that shows from 2 years ago for my first season. I remember first time I came off mute and just my face was red. I mean, I'm looking a bit red now, I'm a bit hot, but I just blushed and my mouth was dry, you know, and but now I just feel so welcomed and supported, and the excellence just makes stepping out of that comfort zone and offer more so much more rewarding and just a little bit easier. So I'm with each call, with each group call and Zoom call that I either host or participate in, my confidence is just growing and growing. And then as my confidence grows here, when I'm out of autonomy, you know, in real life, it bleeds out and it transfers there as well. And I think that's really magic, is when we build up our confidence here and then we take it out and apply it elsewhere. And that's definitely happening for me, at least. So yeah, and I'm definitely up for doing more of these, as always. So if anyone needs a co-host, give me a message. Just make sure you plan it as well as Erin did.
Yeah, I was just going to add, Erin, you know, we actually had in the marketing meeting this week, Jill brought up something that keyed something that you said to me in a little message that we shared, which was this idea of flipped classrooms. And we've got Stephanie here that really kind of helped me out in that particular situation, because I couldn't even remember what the term was for what you were describing. But I think it's, you know, it's just another example of like the talent and ability that we've got here. And you want to talk a little bit about flipped classrooms and how that might be something that people can use as far as courses? You know, we talked about courses, but you mind talking a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. So I taught for 20 years, and it was something that I tried to implement at times. You know, in my classroom, I taught English as a second language. So I was working with international students, and with international students, basically, they like to have a lot of practice. And so the flipped classroom is that the lecture is the homework and the class is what you would usually do for homework, like whatever your math problems or whatever you do that in the class. And so that's what the flip is that the lecture and all the talking is what they do at home. And then in the class, they bring their questions, you do the homework assignments or whatever drills or practice or whatever skills that you're trying to build. You do that together. And I thought for this, when people are developing their courses, it's something to think about, because you could have a lecture portion, a lecture component, maybe But then you might have a live session where you're actually building something together. And I think it would be a very novel way to introduce your products and your offerings and things like that. It depends on, of course, what you've got, what you're offering. But it doesn't always have to be just that single mode of someone, the talking head, that you can do something more dynamic. So there's a lot of things like that with the flipped classroom that make it more dynamic, more interactive, more hands-on, kind of more of a Montessori feel, I guess, to your classroom. So I loved it. I love doing it that way. And so, yeah, that's kind of in a nutshell.
Yeah, I think it speaks to a lot of the stuff that I think we're trying to get out there. Is there's a lot of kind of awareness that we've got to, a lot of the subjects that a lot of us have, and of course because of technology and everything that's out there, and the fact that a lot of people are divided into their own little box or echo chamber and stuff like that. Being able to communicate with other people about terminology and techniques and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I just did Rawad's SEO master course, and for me, I'm not a tech guy by any means, and so a lot of this stuff was just like what is it, what's the terminology for it, so just getting through that kind of stuff, those are things that you can put on video and kind of get that. And then if I've got extra questions, or if I've got application issues, putting those into the like what we're doing when we're together, we can learn from each other by just those examples. And so I think it's really a powerful idea that certainly can translate into what we're experiencing online these days. And just having those kind of options, and I know there's a lot of people in this group that have knowledge and ability that they would love to be able to share with other people. And it's not necessarily that we've got to teach everybody a course on something. Sometimes it's just educating them about where they get great information, or where they get the right information, or where they get the right technique or tool. Just educating your fellow community members on how to take care of the problems that might be out there that they might be presented with is a powerful thing to have. And so I think it's a great idea. And I don't know if anybody else, I know Stephanie knows a little bit about this too. I don't know if she's has the ability to speak, but I'm so glad that we had that conversation, because it did fit right into the situation that we had the other day.
Great.
Yeah, sorry guys, I'm elbow deep in strawberries right now, but way to go, Erin. That flipped classroom idea, I think, is going to revolutionize a lot of the courses. And like you said, it depends on what your offer is, but great idea. I was really excited when I heard Mike talking about that. I was like, I know what that is. That's flipped classroom. What a great idea.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. All kinds of fun things you can do with teaching, for sure.
Any more feedback or comments on tonight's episode of Do It Live? Any ways we could tighten things up and improve, or any more nice things to say? I never get bored of sitting here listening to compliments.
All right, I'll throw one other thing out. I know Stephanie has been doing this with the parent educator meetup thing. I think that's coming out this next week. I don't know if she wants to say a few words on that, but I think we've got a scheduled time for that now.
Yeah, so we'll start, let's see. I was thinking we could do it on the 4th Wednesday of each month. The best time that worked for everybody was Wednesdays at 2 p.m. Pacific, which is 5 p.m. Eastern. So next week is Thanksgiving. And so I was kind of wondering if we should start with the last week of the month, just for these next two, holiday months, November and December. And then from then on out, then go to the 4th Wednesday of the month, because these two next months have like more than 4 Wednesdays, some of them. But I'll post that in there. I'm really excited that I got such good response. There was, maybe a dozen people that instantly were like, yes, I want to be involved in this. And it's something that's been rattling around in my brain ever since I joined Autonomy, is that I want to connect with other parent educators and educators who are interested in basically, autonomy for kids, a different style of education. So yeah, we'll start that up in the next couple of weeks.
That's really exciting.
Nick, just on on your feedback question or comment, I think, Erin, when you watch back the recording, that's where you'll also, I want to encourage you to enjoy that when you view that, but you'll also see things that you would do differently next time if you ever get the opportunity. So that's an important part of the exercise, I think. So, but yeah, no, really well done, guys, and enjoy the replay.
Thank you.
I just thought of another autonomism.
Oh,
There's
yeah?
always room for excellence.
There's
And
always room for
you know,
I'm gonna go
you
to that
guys
form and
just you
type
guys
that in.
demonstrated that one.
Well, I put the link in the chat.
I'm using it right now.
Awesome.
Yeah, definition. It doesn't really need a definition.
I heard a good one from Michael that said, it doesn't matter who prints the money. It is we who create the value.
Ooh, yeah. Is that in there?
No, it's not in there.
So what happens when you fill out the form, it
Yeah.
then updates the PDF?
No, it fills out a messy looking form. So I have to then go in and take it out and put it into the pretty document.
You put it, right, okay. I was like, that's incredible. How does it do that?
I wish. Maybe
The
there's
answer is it doesn't.
Well, I bet Stefano would probably know how to do it, but I can't do it.
I mean,
That reminds me,
mine
actually.
that I use quite a lot is use what you have to build what you want.
Ooh. Nice.
I used to use that in personal training. I would say, do the best you can with what you have from where you are.
Mhm. That's good for parenting too, by the way. Yeah, if anybody has a suggestion on where I can put the document each time I upload it, I don't want to keep putting a new document up and having, 500 documents all over the place. So for it to be sort of a Dropbox kind of place, we've talked before about the folder in the chats, but I don't see a way to put a document in there, but that seems like it might be where it would go.
I'm not sure about that. It might be a question for Ahmed or Joshua.
Yeah.
It would be nice to be able to like pin it to the top of a room or a chat or something, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but which one?
You could see.
Yeah, I don't see when it would, start here. I doubt anybody goes into the start
Memorize
here.
these phrases and words and start using them. Yeah, be lesson one.
Seeds of inspiration.
All right, everyone. It's 10:10 here, so I'm gonna leave the meeting and go get some sleep. But this has been a lot of fun. Thank you, Erin, for the excellent preparation and hosting. Thank you, everyone else, for showing up. When I leave this call, it'll carry on, right? I think, Erin, until because this is your call, isn't it? You're on guest autonomy. Oh, you're muted. But yeah, I'm going to say good night, all. I'll see you all tomorrow for Q&A. Bye-bye.
I'm going to head out too. I have a dog who needs some attention and I'm going out to dinner. So good night, everybody. Great work, Erin. Really great work. You're on mute, by the way. I don't know if you know that. You've been on mute for a while.
Oh, okay, sorry. Here, I'm back.
Good night, all.
Okay, good night.
Thanks, Carly. Thanks, Nick.
You guys want me to end the meeting for all, or just I can just leave the meeting? Does anyone want to stay on and keep talking?
I mean, I suppose it depends if other people want to keep
Thanks,
talking.
mate. Sorry. I got too many balls. Yeah.
I'll stick around.
Okay, I'm gonna
unless-
go ahead and leave the meeting, but I'll leave it open for you guys to keep talking. All right, so good night, everyone. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks, Erin. Great job.
Thank you. Good night.
Yeah, wonderful job.
Good job, Erin.
Hey, you all, I'm going to take this opportunity to duck out as well. Thank you all for showing up and tuning in and not dropping out. I will see you all tomorrow at Q&A. Have a great rest of the weekend.
Yeah, see you too.
All right, I guess that means we're done, huh? Ryan, you got anything?
I don't know. I was gonna at one point jump in with like, I don't really have a saying for it, but it's basically the idea of that realistic goals are subjective. And I always bring that up because whenever I hear that, I look at, I go like, well, everything I've done is supposed to be impossible and I've done it anyways. So, if I had the attitude of, well, make sure you set a realistic goal, like I never would have done any of this. But but I don't have a proper phrase for it. And then sometimes usually if I bring that up, I prefer to bring up, there's a short video you can find on YouTube by a guy named I can't remember his first name. It's like J. Michael Straczynski. He's most well known for having written pretty much every episode of Babylon 5. That's his main thing. And he has this concept he calls the tyranny of reasonable voices, which is essentially all the people around you who, and it's like a 2-minute video. You can if you type in tyranny of reasonable voices, you'll probably find it. What is it called? Basically it's all the people around you say, oh, you shouldn't try to do all that because you might fail and stuff. And he points out that basically what these people are saying is that they're scared that if you succeed, it makes them look bad for not even trying. Like that's the short version. And it's true. I've run into that a lot. And I think a lot of people do. And I think it's a really good thing to, keep in mind, because as he puts, it's like they say all these things and they're absolutely right for all the wrong reasons. Like they're trying to help you for all the wrong reasons, and it's like, yeah, it's exactly it. The other thing I was going to bring up, but it wouldn't have been appropriate at the time, was there's a video you can find on YouTube. It's 10 years old, and I know that because I just went and looked it up, and it's called "Fuck You, Pay Me," and it's by a guy named let me go find this. Don't even know if I can pronounce his name. A second. Mike Montiero, and "Fuck You, Pay Me," except the U has a asterisk instead of whatever. But it's basically, he's like I think he was a web developer, a web designer, and he's talking about like essentially clients screwing you over and how you have to really be, if you're a freelancer, if someone who does contract work, you really have to make sure you have good contracts and all these sorts of things. And you don't take any of the crap of like, oh, well, I can't do it right now. Like anything that can happen at the very end. And it's a very, very famous talk that he gave. And it's like less than 30 minutes. I think it would probably work well. I haven't watched, actually, no, it's 38 minutes. I thought it was 28 minutes. It would probably work really well in Autonomy, but I'll have to watch it again. But some of the topics in there reminded me of that video of important things to keep in mind. Because yeah, it's pretty good.
You said the other one was Tyranny of Reasonable Voices, was it?
Yeah, it's the Tyranny of Reasonable Voices. I'll go see if I can find that one quick too.
Okay.
I hope it's still on YouTube. I can't imagine why it wouldn't be, but Tyranny of Reasonable Voices.
By the way, you posted that writing on what was the name of it was the bird story, like the parrot that escaped and
oh yeah, yeah. I wrote that. I can't remember if that was 2017 or 2015, but yeah, it says at the bottom.
Well done. Well done.
Thank you. Because that was like one of the few things that I wrote during that period that I actually enjoyed. probably because it involved an animal. And that's also why I chose squirrels for this one. And this story is already like I don't have a name for it. I don't name things until the end, but it's already got little bits of quotes and stuff that I look at and go, yeah, that's a good one. And you know, it makes me like it. So I'm quite happy with that. Hopefully it turns out at least as good as that one, because I barely remember that one. And but I do remember going over it after the fact one time and being like, wow, I could have improved this so much in all these areas, which is usually a good thing to be able to see. So.
Hey, Ryan,
that's clever.
Your mention of the reasonable quote unquote goals gave me a thought related to last night's lecture that I didn't want to lose. So it reminded me of when Richard was talking about the box, like they tell you the box is this big. He was talking about if you finish what you're doing, like they tell you the box is this, but really you got plenty of room. And of course, Richard put it in a lot more eloquent words, but maybe that could be mined for an actual, you know, to translate that thought into an autonomism.
Yeah.
I tell you the box is this big, but it's actually quite a bit larger. I don't know.
I do have a whole thing that I came up with sort of for that, because I don't like I really don't like the phrase or the saying of if life gives you lemons, make lemonade, because you're settling essentially is how I took it. So I came up with this one that is exaggerated, you know, intended for comedic effect, but it goes more like, if life gives you lemons, take them back up to the counter and with your receipt and say, excuse me, I ordered a cheeseburger. And if they try to give you store credit, burn the building down.
That may not go over well.
That
but,
sounds like a Ryanism.
Yeah. The point is, it's like, don't settle for less. Don't settle for, like, don't just be like, oh, well, I guess this is what I have. It's like, no, like, you know, again, this ties back into the fuck you pay me thing, because I've seen people like that I had personally known get screwed over this way, especially when they're artists. Because the artist meme is the person will say, well, I'll pay you an exposure, which is, you know, hey, I have this big platform and everyone will see your stuff, and then they'll come to you, and then those people will pay you, is basically the idea. And it's like, well, if you have this huge platform or whatever, then you can clearly afford to pay me. So like,
there's a new TikTok trend where people are showing their work and they're like remodeling or doing art or decorating a space for a party. And the song in the background for all of them is, it costs us much because it takes me fucking hours.
Yeah.
It costs us much because something like that. And then part of it is because exposure doesn't pay the bills.
Yep. There was one artist, there was someone who was, they made homemade bracelets, and they had a person who argued with them about the price and how they're like, oh, well, I did the calculations and your material cost is this, so I should only be paying this. And so like, okay, sure. And so they shipped them like a box of like beads and like stuff. And they're like, what's this? And it's like, well, it's material cost. Like that's what you paid for. You paid for the materials. So, and like, yeah, it's really horrible for anything creative, especially anything artistic, because generally speaking, and I used to be and almost sort of am still one of these people will go, it's like, well, art doesn't really matter because it's not something like keeps you alive or anything. So why should I have to pay for it? You know, it doesn't, basically the idea is it doesn't have value. And these are usually also the same people who will go and in some cases like buy, you know, or go to a movie or do all these things that are artistic because it keeps them sane. And so I used to be someone who was much more on that end of this, on that side of thing, because I didn't like escapism. And I saw what was happening was a lot of escapism with anything artistic. And so I was like, well, yeah, it really doesn't have value. Because if you're someone who has to do that, then you should actually be spending more time in the real world. And the real world, you know, is more about the STEM field type of stuff, to get to sort of improve reality, so you don't have to feel like you have to escape. But these days, I'm a lot better about it. I think art has a lot more value than I used to give it credit for. But yeah, it's a whole thing. Like, I do think it's worth the money is the point, especially if you're ordering something custom.
I'd have to agree. I got to get going, guys. These strawberries are going to go bad. I'm trying to preserve them and freeze dry them. So
Sounds good. Have fun.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go too.
Bye,
Gotta,
guys.
Yep.
gotta go to the
Nice talking to you.
laundromat.
I'm
exchange some
glad that
stuff.
glad that you enjoyed Pico's day out.
Yeah,
I hope I can
was-
hopefully I can
was
do more in
really-
the future.
I'm glad you shared that.
Yeah, well, you can basically thank Stephanie because she's the one who essentially pried my teeth to get me to do it. Because otherwise, I was like, oh, I shouldn't because it inevitably ties back to the person I don't want to tie it back to. But it was like, whatever. Like at this point, I pretty well don't talk to her or anything. So what does it matter? You know, like who even cares at this point? So yeah. In any case, I will see you later, I guess.
Okay, Ryan. Are you intending on kind of restarting the revolutionary spiritual revolution?
Yeah, I did it last Monday. One person,
Oh, you
I think
did?
Carly showed up, and that was about
Okay.
it. Like I have restarted it. I do run it. That's why I had
Do we
made
need
that
to
thing.
get it on the schedule?
Supposedly
Is that what-
Jerry did that, but apparently not.
Okay. Well, I can make sure that happens.
Yeah, because that's what he says. Like, yeah, because he asked, like, hey, is this going to, because he showed up like at the first one. He was like, is this going to be like an every week thing? I was like, yep. And he's like, well, I should put it on the schedule then. It's like, yeah.
Okay.
Because I didn't do that because I don't know how. So I was just like, I'll just make a post, be done with it.
Okay. Yeah, is that post somewhere I can find it or Jerry can find it?
Yeah, that post should still exist.
It has like a description and stuff.
Yeah, it should be in like student projects, and you should be able to search like spiritual revolution. It should be like the first, because I think that's like the title of it.
All right, I'll make sure to
spiritual revolution
talk to
meeting or
Jerry
something.
about that, because I can't do them either, but the moderators can, and he's one of those.
Yeah.
All right, great.
Yep.
We'll see you on Monday then. If not
Same to
sooner.
you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.